The alien council chamber erupted in laughter when Captain Derek Kane stepped forward. 27 species, each more advanced than the last, and every single one of them found humanity's arrival hilarious. The Vrexian ambassador slammed 3 of his 4 hands on the stone table, his crystalline body shaking with amusement. "You cannot be serious," the Vrexian wheezed through his translator. "Earth sends one human to represent them at the Guardian selection?" Derek stood motionless in the center of the circular arena, his combat armor scratched and dented from the journey through hostile space. Behind him, the holographic display showed Earth, small and blue and vulnerable. 3,000 worlds had sent their champions. Only one would be chosen as the Guardian, the single warrior entrusted to hold the Nexus Gate against the coming darkness. The Krell delegate, a massive creature of scales and hatred, rose from her seat. "The humans just discovered faster-than-light travel 6 months ago. They have no genetic modifications, no cybernetic enhancements, no psionic abilities." She turned to the High Arbiter. "This is an insult to the selection process." Derek felt the weight of 3,000 civilizations watching through their feeds. Earth had begged for this chance. The Nexus Gate stood between known space and the void territories, where something ancient and hungry was stirring. Intelligence reports said the barrier would fall within the year. Whoever held the gate would stand alone against whatever came through. "The human may attempt the first trial," the High Arbiter announced, his voice like grinding mountains. "He will fail quickly, and we can move on to serious candidates." The arena floor split open. Derek dropped 20 feet into darkness before hitting a metal platform. Lights blazed to life, revealing a maze of corridors stretching in every direction. Somewhere in this death trap he had to find and retrieve the Arbiter's seal before the other champions. Above him, on the spectator's screens, he saw them dropping in. The Vrexian warrior phased through walls. The Krell champion tore through metal barriers with bare claws. A Silthian floated effortlessly, mapping the maze with echolocation. Each one enhanced, evolved, superior. Derek pulled his rifle and ran. The first trap nearly killed him. Laser grids sliced through the air where his head had been. He rolled, fired 3 shots at the generators, and kept moving. The laughter from above followed him through the corridors. A Vrexian warrior appeared ahead, blocking the path. "Step aside, primitive. This maze is beyond your capability." Derek shot him in the chest. The energy round knocked the alien back 15 feet. "No cybernetics," Derek said, loading another round. "But we learned something you forgot." He sprinted past the stunned Vrexian. "We learned how to fight dirty." The maze exploded with activity as champions converged on the seal's location. Derek could hear their enhanced senses, their superior speed, their technological advantages closing in. He smiled and pulled a grenade from his belt. The council stopped laughing. Derek detonated the grenade at the maze's support junction. The explosion tore through 3 levels, collapsing corridors and sending champions scattering in every direction. Debris rained down as Derek swung through the chaos on a grappling line, his boots hitting solid ground just as the eastern wall crumbled. The Arbiter's seal glowed on a pedestal ahead. Unguarded in the confusion, he grabbed it and ran. "Illegal tactics!" the Krell delegate roared from above. "He destroyed the trial arena." The High Arbiter's voice boomed across the speakers. "The rules permit any method to retrieve the seal. The human succeeded in 4 minutes and 17 seconds. A new record." Derek emerged from the wreckage, seal in hand, while enhanced warriors dug themselves out of rubble. The Vrexian ambassador had stopped laughing. So had most of the council. "Luck," the Krell delegate hissed. "Pure luck. The second trial will expose his weakness." The arena shifted. The floor became transparent, revealing an ocean of acid below. Platforms materialized, each one crackling with different forms of energy: heat shimmer, frost crystals, electrical discharge. Derek counted 40 platforms between him and the far gate. Other champions appeared on platforms around the arena's edge. "Cross the field," the High Arbiter commanded. "Reach the gate. Survive." A Manthrex warrior leaped first, his exoskeleton absorbing the electrical shock as he landed. A Silthian floated between platforms, never touching the dangerous surfaces. The Krell champion bounded forward with enhanced strength, her scales deflecting the fire platform's heat. Derek studied the pattern. The platforms rotated through their energy types every 7 seconds. He timed it, waited for the shift, and jumped. His boots hit ice. He slipped, caught himself, and leaped again as the platform burst into flames behind him. The crowd murmured. No enhancements, no special resistance, just timing and guts. Halfway across, a Vrexian warrior phased onto Derek's platform. You got lucky in the maze, human. This requires actual skill. Derek headbutted him. The Vrexian stumbled backward, straight into an electrical platform. His phasing ability couldn't protect him from the voltage. He screamed and fell toward the acid. Derek didn't watch him drop. He jumped to the next platform, rolling as it shifted to heat mode. The metal of his armor began to glow. He ripped off the chest plate and threw it aside, jumping again in just his undersuit. Adaptability, someone in the council whispered. He sacrifices protection for mobility. 3 platforms from the gate. The Krell champion landed in his path. She was twice his size, genetically perfect. Bred for combat over 10 generations. No more running, human. Derek pulled his knife. Wasn't running. Was thinking. She laughed and charged. Derek waited until she was mid-leap, then dropped through the gap between platforms. His grappling line fired, catching the underside of her platform. He swung beneath the field as she crashed through empty air, her momentum carrying her over the edge. Her claws scraped the platform edge. She hung there, powerful but off balance. Derek swung back up, landed on the final platform, and met her eyes. We also learned something else. He kicked her fingers loose. We learned when mercy is stupid. She fell screaming into the acid. Derek walked through the gate. The arena went silent. 2 trials, 2 victories, 0 enhancements. The mathematical impossibility of it settled over the council like frost. The High Arbiter leaned forward. There are 3 trials remaining, human, each more difficult than the last. Good, Derek said, his voice carrying across the chamber. I was getting bored. The 3rd trial materialized instantly. No warning, no preparation. The floor opened beneath Derek's feet, and he fell into a combat sphere. 6 champion warriors appeared around him, all previous trial winners, all demanding a rematch. The Vrexian who he'd shot, the Manthrex from the platforms. 4 others, each one enhanced and furious. They attacked simultaneously. Derek rolled under the first strike, used the second attacker's momentum to throw him into the third. His rifle was gone, lost in the fall. Just his knife and his fists against 6 enhanced warriors. The Manthrax caught him with a backhand that cracked 2 ribs. Derek felt them break, felt the pain explode through his chest. He channeled it into rage and drove his knife through the Manthrax's eye socket, the only weak point in the exoskeleton. 5 left. A Silthian wrapped around his throat from behind, constricting. Derek couldn't breathe. His vision darkened at the edges. He reached back, found the creature's sensory organ, and crushed it. The Silthian released him, shrieking. 4 left! They came at him together, learning from their mistakes. Derek fought like Earth had taught him. No honor, no rules, no mercy. He bit, clawed, gouged. He used every dirty trick from every human war. When the combat sphere finally opened, Derek stood alone among the bodies. Blood ran down his face. His ribs screamed with every breath. But he stood. The council chamber had gone completely silent. The medical drones descended immediately, but Derek waved them off. He climbed out of the combat sphere under his own power, every movement deliberate despite the pain. The council members watched him with new eyes now. Fear had replaced their amusement. 4th trial, the High Arbiter announced, his tone carefully neutral. The test of command. The arena transformed into a tactical hologram. A star system appeared, perfectly rendered. Enemy forces, marked in red, outnumbered the defending fleet 10-1. Derek recognized the scenario immediately. It was the Battle of Proxima Gate, where the Vrexian Empire had lost 3 entire fleets trying to hold a strategic position. You have 30 minutes to devise a winning strategy, the High Arbiter said. The simulation will test your plan. Every champion has failed this trial. Derek studied the hologram for exactly 45 seconds. I'm done. The Vrexian ambassador shot to his feet. Impossible. No one analyzes this scenario in under... Run the simulation. Derek interrupted. The hologram activated. Derek's strategy unfolded and fast forward. He'd positioned the defending fleet not at the gate itself, but scattered across 3 moon orbits. When the enemy forces committed to the gate assault, the hidden defenders struck supply lines and command ships. The enemy fleet found itself surrounded, cut off, and systematically destroyed. Total time, 18 minutes. Friendly casualties, 12%. The Vrexian ambassador sat down slowly. We never considered abandoning the gate itself. Because you think like defenders, Derek said. Humans think like predators. We don't hold ground. We hunt. The council erupted in heated debate. Several delegates demanded Derek's disqualification. Others argued that unconventional thinking was precisely what the Guardian needed. The High Arbiter silenced them with a gesture. 5th trial, the test of will. This time, Derek was ready for anything. But when the trial began, there was no arena, no combat, no tactical puzzle. Instead, a neural interface descended from the ceiling. This device will connect directly to your mind, the High Arbiter explained. You will experience the full weight of what it means to be Guardian. Every life depending on you. Every decision that ends in death. Every moment of isolation as you stand alone against the darkness. Most champions break within seconds. Derek approached the interface. How long do I need to last? The record is 4 minutes and 9 seconds, set by a Krell war mind with enhanced psychological conditioning. Derek sat down and let the device attach to his skull. The connection burned like ice and fire simultaneously. Then, the visions hit. He saw the Nexus Gate, massive and ancient, humming with power. Beyond it, in the void territories, something moved. Not one threat, but thousands. Entities that shouldn't exist, breaking the laws of physics just by being. And he stood alone on the gate platform, the last line of defense. The weight crushed him. Billions of lives across 3,000 worlds, all depending on his strength. His speed, his willingness to die alone in the dark. He felt the isolation. Months without relief. No backup, no escape, just him in the endless void. The interface showed him failures, timelines where he hesitated, and worlds burned. Where he made the wrong choice and civilizations ended. The guilt became physical pain, driving spikes through his consciousness. Derek gritted his teeth and held on. The visions intensified. He watched Earth die 1,000 different ways, saw his family, his friends, everyone he'd ever known consumed by void spawn. The interface found every fear, every doubt, every weakness, and magnified it. 4 minutes passed. Derek's vital signs spiked to dangerous levels. Medical personnel moved closer, ready to intervene. 5 minutes. His heart rate became erratic. Blood vessels burst in his eyes from the strain. 6 minutes over. The council members leaned forward, unable to look away. 7 minutes. Derek's hands gripped the chair arms so hard the metal crumpled. At 8 minutes and 33 seconds, the High Arbiter himself reached for the emergency shutdown. Derek's hand shot out and caught his wrist. Don't. 10 minutes. 12. 15. The visions showed him the final timeline. The one where he succeeded. Where he held the gate for years, alone and broken, but victorious. Where humanity's stubbornness, their refusal to quit, their absolute rejection of surrender, became the wall that darkness couldn't pass. At 23 minutes, Derek opened his eyes and removed the interface himself. The chamber was absolutely silent. Even the High Arbiter seemed shaken. How? The Vrexian ambassador whispered. How did you endure that? Derek stood, his legs unsteady but his voice firm. Because I'm human. We've been standing in the dark since we learned to walk upright. Every night, every cave, every unknown shadow. We don't fear the dark. He looked directly at the High Arbiter. We conquered it. The 6th and final trial materialized without ceremony. A doorway appeared in the arena floor, leading down into absolute blackness. No hologram, no explanation, no rules. The final descent, the High Arbiter said quietly. Walk into the darkness. Reach the bottom. Return alive. Only 3 champions in recorded history have succeeded. Derek approached the doorway. From below, he heard something breathing. Something vast and ancient and hungry. He checked his remaining equipment. One knife, no armor, broken ribs, exhausted mind. Perfect. Derek stepped into the darkness. The council watched his life signs on their monitors as he descended. His heartbeat stayed steady. His breathing remained controlled. Every other champion who'd attempted this trial had panicked within the first 100 steps. Derek kept walking down. The darkness was absolute. Derek's eyes adjusted, searching for any trace of light, but found nothing. The stairs beneath his feet were smooth, worn by countless ages. The breathing sound grew louder with each step, accompanied by a smell like burning ozone and rotting stars. His hand trailed along the wall. The stone was warm, almost alive, pulsing with a rhythm that didn't match his heartbeat. He counted steps. 300. 500, 1,000. Something moved in the darkness ahead. Derek stopped. The breathing had changed direction. It was no longer below him but beside him, keeping pace. He couldn't see it, couldn't hear footsteps, but he felt its presence, like pressure against his skin. "I know you're there," he said quietly. The thing laughed. The sound came from everywhere and nowhere, a noise that made Derek's teeth ache and his broken ribs grind together. "So many champions have walked these stairs," the voice said. It sounded like collapsing galaxies. "So many enhanced warriors, genetically perfect specimens, cybernetically augmented killers. All of them ran screaming before they reached the halfway point." Derek kept walking down. "But you interest me, human. You have no enhancements, no advantages, just soft flesh and fragile bones. Yet you don't run." "Running doesn't solve problems," Derek replied. "Just delays them." The presence moved closer. Derek felt breath on his neck, hot and smelling of the void between stars. "What makes you think you're special?" "I don't." Derek's voice stayed level. "I think I'm desperate. Earth needs a guardian, and I'm what they sent. So I'll walk these stairs until I reach the bottom or die trying." "And if I kill you right now?" Derek smiled in the darkness. "Then Earth will send someone else, and they'll walk down here too. And if you kill them, they'll send another. We're stubborn that way." The breathing stopped. For a long moment, only silence filled the stairwell. Then the presence spoke again, and this time there was something like respect in its voice. "The other species have forgotten what it means to face the dark without protection. They've evolved past fear, enhanced away their survival instinct. But humans remember. We remember because we had to," Derek said. "We spent 10,000 generations as prey. We learned to keep walking when every instinct screamed to run. Keep going, human. The trial isn't over." The presence vanished. Derek continued down the stairs alone. 2,000 steps. 3,000. The air grew thicker, harder to breathe. Derek's lungs burned with each inhalation. His broken ribs felt like knives in his chest, but he didn't slow down. At 5,000 steps, the stairs ended. Derek stood in a vast chamber. He couldn't see the walls or ceiling, but he felt the space around him, enormous and ancient. In the center of the darkness, something glowed with a faint blue light. He approached carefully. The glow came from a crystal, perfectly spherical, floating at chest height. Inside it, Derek saw images, the Nexus Gate, the void territories beyond, and something else, something massive and terrible, pressing against reality itself, trying to break through. "Pick it up," the voice commanded. Not the presence from the stairs, but something older. The chamber itself seemed to speak. "This is the heart of the Guardian. It will show you everything. Every threat, every timeline, every possible future. Most who touch it go mad instantly." Derek reached out and grasped the crystal. Pain exploded through his nervous system. The crystal wasn't showing him visions. It was downloading them directly into his brain. Millions of years of Guardian history. Every battle. Every victory, every failure. He saw the previous Guardians, 3 of them across the ages, each one a legendary warrior from species long extinct. He saw what was coming. The Void Spawn weren't just monsters. They were the universe's immune response, trying to eliminate the infection of conscious life. They'd broken through before, 3 times, and each time a Guardian had held the gate long enough for the civilized species to develop a countermeasure. But this time was different. This time, the Void Spawn had evolved. They'd learned. and the gate was weaker than it had ever been. Derek saw his own future if he accepted the role. Years of isolation, endless combat, watching relief forces arrive too late, over and over, until he stopped expecting them. He saw himself growing older, scarred, half mad from the loneliness and the killing. He saw himself dying on the gate platform, alone, holding the line until his last breath. The crystal offered him a choice: accept or refuse. No shame in walking away. 3,000 other champions waited above. Derek closed his hand around the crystal and pulled it into his chest. The light flared, blinding in the darkness. The crystal merged with him, settling somewhere behind his sternum. He felt it connect to his nervous system, his brain, his very consciousness. Information flooded in, tactical data on the void spawn, gate operating procedures, emergency protocols. The stairs reappeared, leading upward. Derek climbed. He emerged into the arena 6 hours after he'd descended. The council had waited, silent and tense. When Derek stepped out of the doorway, the crystal's blue glow visible through his skin, they knew. The High Arbiter stood. In 3,000 years, only 4 beings have emerged from the final descent carrying the Guardian's heart. You are the first human, the first unenhanced warrior, the first to succeed in under a standard day. Derek felt the crystal pulsing in his chest, feeding him information. The Nexus Gate was failing faster than intelligence had predicted. He had maybe 3 months before the void spawn broke through. "When do I leave?" he asked. "Immediately," the High Arbiter replied. "But first, the council must vote. Any delegate can challenge your selection." Derek waited. The chamber remained silent. Even the Krell delegate who'd mocked him from the start stayed seated. The Vrexian ambassador actually nodded with something like approval. "The vote is unanimous," the High Arbiter declared. "Earth's champion is accepted as guardian of the Nexus Gate." The transport ship carried Derek toward the Nexus Gate in silence. No ceremony, no celebration. The council had given him supplies, weapons, and tactical data. Then they'd sent him alone into the dark. Through the viewport, Derek watched the gate grow larger. It was beautiful in a terrible way. A ring of ancient metal 10 miles in diameter, covered in symbols from civilizations dead before Earth learned to make fire. Energy crackled across its surface, holding back the void on the other side. The crystal in his chest pulsed faster as they approached. It was feeding him information constantly now. Structural weaknesses in the gate's northern quadrant, energy fluctuations in the barrier field, probability models for when the first breach would occur. 2 months and 4 days. That's how long he had before something came through. The transport docked at the Guardian platform, a small station built into the gate's inner ring. Derek stepped out into the space, and the ship departed immediately. No goodbyes, no wishes of luck. He was alone. The platform was sparse. Living quarters, armory, medical bay, and command center. Everything designed for one person. The previous Guardian had died here 300 years ago, holding the gate against a void spawn assault while the civilized species rebuilt their defenses. His skeleton still sat in the command chair, armor fused to bone by some weapon Derek didn't recognize. Derek removed the skeleton carefully, respectfully, and buried it in the platform's small memorial chamber. Thousands of names were carved into the walls, every Guardian who died at their post. He found an empty space and carved the previous Guardian species designation. Then he got to work. The armory held weapons from across the galaxy. Energy rifles that could punch through starship hulls, plasma cannons requiring cybernetic implants to operate, molecular disruptors that only genetically enhanced warriors could withstand firing. Derek picked up a simple kinetic rifle. Chemical propellant, metal projectiles, mechanical action, human technology, left here by some previous delegate as an afterthought. He found ammunition and began loading magazines. The command center showed him everything. Sensor arrays detected movement in the void beyond the gate. Things circling, testing the barrier, looking for weakness. The crystal translated their patterns. They were learning the gate's rhythm, finding the gaps in its energy cycle. Derek studied their movements for hours. They weren't mindless. They coordinated, communicated, strategized. The void spawn were intelligent. That made them dangerous, but it also made them predictable. He spent the first week fortifying. The platform had automated defenses, but they were designed for enhanced warriors with enhanced reflexes. Derek recalibrated them for human response times, slower but more reliable. He rigged the northern quadrant with proximity mines, set up kill zones with overlapping fields of fire, positioned supply caches at strategic points. Everything he'd learned in Earth's military applied to defending a cosmic gateway. The crystal approved. He felt its satisfaction like warmth in his chest. On day 9, the first breach occurred. Derek was sleeping when the alarms screamed. He was in the command center within seconds, rifle in hand. The northern quadrant, exactly where the crystal predicted. A hairline fracture in the barrier, less than an inch wide. Something pushed through. It was small, a probe, testing defenses. The void spawn was the size of Derek's fist, made of darkness that hurt to look at directly. It moved fast, adapting to the platform's gravity, searching for the command center. Derek shot it 3 times. The kinetic rounds passed through it harmlessly. He switched tactics, grabbed a plasma torch from the repair bay, and burned it. The void spawn screamed, a sound that had no business existing in vacuum, and dissolved. The breach sealed itself. Derek checked the sensors. On the other side, hundreds of void spawn had watched the probe's attempt. They'd learned that kinetic weapons didn't work. They'd learned the platform had energy weapons. They'd learned a human was defending the gate. They pulled back to reassess. Derek smiled grimly. That's right, I'm learning too. The second breach came 3 days later. Bigger this time, wide enough for something the size of a human to pass through. Derek was ready. He'd positioned a plasma cannon at the breach point, jury-rigged to fire on proximity. The void spawn came through and died instantly, but the breach stayed open longer, 5 seconds instead of 2. They were getting better at it. Derek contacted the council using the emergency channel. Breach frequency is increasing. I need technical data on gate